Evening. Welcome to the Chris Salcedo Show here on Newsmax TV. Joe Biden held his first press conference since being sworn in today. We'll provide you with the lowlights. Mr. Biden and those who serve him continue to deny the nation is suffering under three crises courtesy of the lawlessness inspired by the socialists at the southern border. But it's such a non-crisis that Biden has dispatched his cackling VP to fix the crisis that doesn't exist. If that seems strange to you, you're right, it is. But this won't be the last time this administration and our ideological enemies speak out of both sides of their mouths on any issue. They'll do it on the border, they'll do it on the economy, and they'll do it on race. Who are the real racists? We expose the truth in tonight's preamble. America has endured two mass shootings in as many weeks. Both are being treated very differently by the press and by the socialists who give the press their marching orders. The shooting in Atlanta, Georgia, saw 3 massage parlors being targeted. Shooting suspect Robert Aaron Long took responsibility for the attacks that left 8 people dead and another person injured. 6 of the victims happened to be of Asian descent. 2 were white. Despite Long admitting that this night of carnage was driven by his sex addiction, the Democrat socialists in and out of the press concocted another motive. They said it was racism against Asians.
The shootings took place as violent hate crimes and discrimination against Asian Americans has risen dramatically over the last year and more. In fact, over the past year, 3,800 such incidents have been reported.
Well, from where I sit, I want to see a deeper investigation into whether or not these shootings and other similar crimes are racially motivated. It looks racially motivated to me.
Many in the press dutifully went along with this false narrative. Why? Well, it turns out that the left wing in this country takes a dim view of people like me and former President Trump targeting their communist buddies in Beijing. The former president and I have been extremely critical of China's intentionally causing the pandemic. We have objected to their theft, currency manipulation, and malign activity in Hong Kong and their dastardly intentions toward Taiwan. Chris Salcedo Show has condemned China's government-sponsored slavery, forced abortions, and racism against blacks. According to the National Pulse, Team Biden has taken down a website that chronicled all of the human rights abuses conducted by the inhuman communists in Beijing. In my mind, this shows how desperate Democrat socialists are to protect their pals in China. Biden, Harris, Duckworth, and others are desperate to stop our criticism of their ideological compatriots in China. So they alleged our criticism of the communist country is leading to violent attacks against Asian Americans. It's absurd and vacuous, and we refuse to stop our criticism of the world's top human rights abuser, even if, or especially if, Democrats are trying to silence us. The next shooting happened in Boulder, Colorado. Anti-gun nuts, well, they held off a little while. They cited the Atlanta shooting and the Colorado shooting as evidence that white men are the biggest danger to America. Case in point, the niece of Kamala Harris, our vice president, God help us all. Mina Harris is a BLM extremist who tweeted, "White men are the greatest terrorist threat to our country," end quote. But just like the false narrative being pushed by her auntie and other disgusting socialist Democrats, Mina's little hate whitey tweet was based on a lie. The shooter's name is Ahmad Alissa. As a Syrian-born man who has spent the majority of his life in the United States, he was the one who pulled the trigger. After it turned out 10 Americans were killed by a devotee of Islam, the left quickly pivoted to blaming the guns. Now their effort toward taking guns away from law-abiding citizens after the Boulder shooting is well underway. Now, why do you suppose the leftists pivoted so quickly from race to guns? Well, look here. All the victims of the Boulder, Colorado shooting, there they are. They're all white. So let's review. 6 Asians plus 2 white people being gunned down is a hate crime against Asians, according to the left. But 10 people who were exclusively white being gunned down is a gun problem. Now, if we apply the left-wing standards from the Atlanta shooting to the Boulder shooting, isn't this a hate crime against whites? Again, I'm just applying their unfair and stupid standards. And if I and Donald Trump are supposedly guilty of inspiring hate crimes against Asians? Who's guilty of inspiring the hate crime against whites in Colorado?
What do you say to the people who dragged a poor white guy out of a car and beat him?
Oh my goodness, poor white people, please, oh my, stop.
2 days ago, the guy in the White House said in an interview that white people are killed by the police more than anyone else.
I'm so tired of this president spitting in our face and trying to convince us it's raining. That is clear BS, and anybody with any ounce of historical perspective would know that. I wonder what would possess a president to say something like that, and it's really because he's tossing red meat to his clan-like base that he needs so desperately to win.
Just try a little juggling. That's what an Arkansas college student did after he got pulled over for having a broken taillight.
White people are having a good time in America. The cops pull you over at night, and in the middle of the stop, you're like, hold on, officer. Let me reach into my car. Let me reach into my car, officer. Yeah, you relax. I'm just going to reach into my car. What are you getting? My white privilege. That's what I'm getting. That's what I'm getting, officer. That's what I'm getting.
You don't communicate it to them. You beat them. You beat them. They are not a majority of this country. The majority of white people in this country are not a majority of the country. And all the people who are not fooled by this need to come together, go to the polls, go to the protests, do whatever you have to do. You do not negotiate with these people. You destroy them.
Looks like you folks in the cancel culture had better get busy. You got a lot of work to do. Look at all those networks. Look at all those Democrats. Look at all of those socialists. Look at all those comedians who aren't funny. They're begging to be canceled. By liberal woke standards, those leftists are responsible for racism and violence against white people. Where's the movement taking all of these racists off the air? Didn't they, by their own standards, inspire the killing of 10 white people in Colorado? Now, from an outsider looking in, it seems that all of these leftists and their voters are cool with violence against whites. Isn't that why we don't hear liberals calling the Colorado shooting a hate crime? The truth is, the American left is creating a culture where hatred, discrimination, and violence against whites is A-OK. I say it's not. The Chris Salcedo Show despises all forms of racism. We here aspire to the iconic notion that people should be judged by the content of their character, not the color of their skin. But now the American left is sponsoring segregated graduation ceremonies. They're sponsoring segregated proms. They're inventing, racist attacks and refusing to apply their insane and unfair standards when whites are being attacked. Now, we all know why this is. The only reason any socialist pushes for anything is to advance their power and their backward liberal ideology. Their criteria, their judgment, and application of their constantly changing rules are akin to the Keystone Cops. In short, liberal ideology is crap, my friends. It shouldn't be listened to or taken seriously. It's time we stop letting the most stupid people among us dictate what's right and what's wrong, because they apparently have no idea what's right or what's wrong. They can't even live up to their own crazy and arbitrary standards. And it's time we laugh these people out of our country and stop letting them shape and destroy our lives. Now, to all of you lefties, I hear China has plenty of room, but you better be careful. You know, China's like a roach motel. Folks can check in, but they can't check out.
Hey, I'm Rob Finnerty. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this video, please join the conversation in the comments below. Don't forget to subscribe, too. Hit the bell icon to be alerted to breaking news. And remember, there's a whole lot more on Newsmax TV, America's fastest growing cable news network. Newsmax TV, where real news for real people.